Welcome to the path of semen retention, a path only walked successfully by the elite men of this world. But please don't make the misunderstanding that this means a life of abstinence, as many men would misunderstand it to be. I'm going to share with you in this video why it's not necessarily a life of abstinence and how you could still have intimacy and get all the benefits of semen retention. As you walk this path, you are going to make a monumental shift and transformation in your inner world. And as your inner world is, so becomes your outer experience. Retention is the conscious decision to no longer be ruled by the senses, which essentially means a life of slavery, a life of compulsion. The masses of people are so controlled by their senses, they are easily manipulated into political division, religious disputes, excess consumerism, laziness, sloth, greed, and many other of the 7 deadly sins that we learn about in the Bible, as well as other spiritual scriptures from around the world. Essentially, they're living a life of suffering, misery, and disease of their body, minds, and souls. In this video, I'll share with you why semen retention will have you escape from the masses, become a ruler of your own body and mind, and essentially level up every aspect of your life from the bedroom to the boardroom. Let's get to work. Hi, my name is Nikula Das, and I help men master their S3X energy so you can become a powerhouse both in and outside the bedroom. Go to the link in the description below and take the free S3X transmutation guide so you can get started on your journey to S3X mastery today. The majority of men are shackled to sense gratification and delusion, unable to see beyond their next meal, their next intimate encounter, or whatever drinking and alcohol party that they're going to go to this weekend. The man who walks the path of the semen retention undergoes a significant shift in his mind and psyche that separates him from the masses. Essentially, when you first start practicing, you're going to go through a deep detoxification of both the body and of your mind. Because you're leaving the world of sense gratification, you're rising above the base urges and compulsions of the body. It's going to be normal at first to feel anxious, bored, frustrated, angry, have a pent-up energy, S3X frustration. All of this is part of the process. You're essentially depriving yourself of your usual or old ways of being able to satisfy yourself. There's this physical detox that's happening is going to cause you sometimes sleep deprivation, acne may appear, headaches, even getting sick, feeling very hot and sweaty at the beginning. I went through many of those symptoms myself. Essentially, you're purifying yourself at the bodily level, which can be uncomfortable and painful. It's no different than an addict who stops using and then experiences withdrawal symptoms. It's often the withdrawal symptoms that actually get people to go back into their old habits, sometimes even worse than when they started. This is why I recommend seeking guidance, mentorship, and training if you're truly a practitioner of this lifestyle and you're serious about your own evolution and growth. You could connect with me directly if you resonate with the way I present the information and teachings. And if you want to learn more about the trainings that we offer, again, get on my schedule. The link is in the description below. Book some time with me or one of our coaches, and we'll take you through the process to see if it's a right fit. For those men who go beyond those initial withdrawal symptoms, the initial pain and that discomfort, you're going to begin to experience a transformation like no other process on this planet. Dr. Flato's, his scientific research into the connection between seminal fluid and brain development is incredible. Seminal fluid is a concoction rich in potassium, zinc, iron, lithium, vitamins, and minerals. After refraining from ejaculation for periods of time, this seminal fluid mixed with the androgens produced in the testicles, including your testosterone, get reabsorbed back into the bloodstream and distributed through your body. Now, here's where things get interesting when you consider the relationship between the brain cells and seminal fluid. they are made up of very similar compositions. They contain high levels of phosphorus, sodium, magnesium, and chlorine. Essentially, your semen and brain are interlinked because they are drawing from the same pool of elements and resources from the bloodstream. In this way, they are kind of enemies or competing for the same vital resources. When a man refrains from frequent ejaculation, the body, instead of directing it to the lower base results for essentially producing a baby, redirects these resources from the bloodstream into the brain and other bodily functions. As your brain gets more nutrients and resources, you're going to experience higher levels of cognitive function, sharper memory, ability to focus longer, ideas flow with ease, and your intuition heightens. Essentially, men who practice semen retention over time become significantly more intelligent than the majority of people. This is going to be a game changer for you because as a human being, you've got this thing called a brain, but you've also got this thing as a man called balls, and they're often conflicting with each other. But through the process of alchemy, you're going to draw that energy up into the brain, exploding your cognitive function. Swami Vivekananda, who's well known for his semen retention and celibacy lifestyle, was known for his photographic memory. He could look at a page and then tell you exactly word for word what was on that page. Steve Jobs, who was documented as practicing non-ejaculatory S3X and drawing this energy through tantric practices or alchemy practices, changed the way we communicate forever and has built one of the most successful companies on the planet. Nikola Tesla is arguably one of the greatest inventors of our time and was a staunch celibate and credited celibacy to his ability to think and see into higher dimensions and aspects of life. And Mahatma Gandhi was able to influence an entire nation to rebel against the British. Now, I personally don't care whether you like these men, you don't like these men, or whatever your perspectives are. It is no doubt that they were able to do things beyond the average human, and they are all documented as giving credit to semen retention, celibacy, or some tantric practice to be able to do this. There are many others, of course, in different fields and different endeavors. The idea that semen is your life force goes way beyond the physical world. When a man engages in S3X activity and ejaculates, he's literally giving up some of his very essence to the potential of making a new life. This act of ejaculation should not be taken lightly or whimsically, but rather should be taken with serious consideration. Now, remember I said that you're going to go on a detox process of the mind and body. I mentioned some of the symptoms of the body, but what of the symptoms of the mind? Well, your mind is filled with karmic impressions, or what's known in Sanskrit as samskaras. They live generally in the subconscious mind, which is in the heart. So all of your misdeeds, sinful life, your lies, your transgressions, the way you've misused your own S3X energy in the past, all has to actually be cleaned up. One of the toughest challenges of this path is how it's going to flood your unconscious self to you. Essentially, in my own journey, I had to be confronted with my own deep lust, my desire for sense pleasure, my desire for fame, my desire for people to want to recognize me. This was a huge confrontation, and it was because of the practices and the mentorship and guidance that I had that I was able to move through this. This can sometimes last a few weeks, a few months, or even a year, depending on how you're coming into this journey. Every man is an individual, and he's going to come to this lifestyle with his own stuff. So you got to be ready to face yourself if you're serious about getting the results. Now, let's go back to the consideration of ejaculation and how important we should take this. In less evolved animals, S3X will literally cost a being his life. For example, marsupials will die shortly after S3X. Also, drone bees their only job is to mate with the queen so that she can lay eggs for future babies. Even when their job seems pretty easy, like, hey, my job is to mate with the queen, the life of a drone bee is actually quite difficult, short, and doesn't have much going on outside of those things. Now, compare that to many men. Their life is difficult, very hard, emotionally, physically. They're not using their higher intellectual capabilities to get themselves into better positions and jobs or better careers or businesses. And then they end up living short lives. Now, the drone bee doesn't live more than 90 days and he dies automatically. As soon as he's done ejaculation, his life force leaves the body. As a human male, you've been given the luxury with your S3X activity, but this shouldn't mean that you should just be on open season like most men are today and that mainstream culture is promoting. Ejaculation is essentially meant for reproduction, and this overuse of this function is literally making you weak, stupid, and shorten your lifespan. It also is diminishing your quality of life while you are alive because your body has to be constantly in repair mode with excessive ejaculation. Some schools of yoga say you only have a certain amount of breaths, so take long, deep breaths for a long, deep life. As an alchemist, we say you only have a certain amount of ejaculations, so learn to be easy with yourself and learn to chill out with that function. There's a direct connection between your semen and your brain, as explained through the nutrients that are made up of those elements. And remember, essentially your balls are competing with your brain. The more you give into your balls, the less nutrients your brain gets. The less nutrients your brain gets, the less capabilities of deeper intellectual pursuits, creativity, higher understanding, making better decisions in your finances, your relationships, and your health will all go down the drain, so to speak, when you let yourself down the drain. Now, there's also a direct correlation between the cerebral spinal fluid, which is also made up of similar resources. So you could see that the cerebral spinal fluid is almost, we can even say that semen is essentially an offshoot or extension of that. Ayurveda asserts the position that it takes about 40 to 60 ounces of blood to concentrate or refine itself into 1 ounce of semen. Men who practice semen retention will notice that their spine stays more flexible. I've noticed that too, because I used to crack my spine all the time. When I started practicing semen retention, I noticed ease of my spine, flexibility starting to come back into my joints, reducing and eliminating joint pains and lower back pains. One of the main things that men who ejaculate often, who are often involved with, adult content online, watching it, or self-pleasing a lot, they will complain of lower back pain. How many men today are walking around with lower back pain or taking pills for lower back pain, not realizing it's because of their frequent ejaculation that this is happening? Many other problems will arise with men who ejaculate frequently, including mental function or cognitive function, brain fog, fatigue, bone disease, and ultimately loss of intellectual capability. This, as we get older as men, become more and more prevalent. You'll see as men get older, they start to get all these wrinkles on their face, and they start to look like they're deteriorating at a quick level, not realizing that if they would preserve their life force, their semen, that they would actually be able to slow the aging process down. Semen retention purifies your body and therefore begins to purify your mind and your spirit, your energy itself, your soul. Initially, it's tough because you must deal with your past impressions, your sexual impurities, and ultimately all of the negative habits that you've been living with. In this practice of alchemy that I teach, you learn to engage yourself in routines, meditations, muscle control, and breath work that are designed to clear your energy channels, to cleanse your body, to help you through these initial phases and help reduce the karmic reactions that you're going to face. This, coupled with intellectual pursuits, leadership development skills, and spiritual understanding and knowledge, will enhance your ability to practice semen retention for long periods of time. At the beginning, I mentioned that you may think you can never have S3X again, or that it's out of the equation, that celibacy is the only route, and that is simply not true. While that is one path, most men in this day and age are not in the situation to do that or even desire that. That was my situation as well, and that is why I learned and now teach the techniques of S3X Alchemy, which teaches you how to master non-ejaculatory S3X, experience non-ejaculatory orgasms, experience the intimacy and connection of higher S3X control and mastery, and ultimately preserve your life force. You'll no longer be controlled by your impulses, and when you're free from your impulses, you've attained a new level of freedom, exploding your potential to become everything that nature and God has designed you to be. There is so much more to explore in this subject of semen retention. Again, it's a path that only few walk, but for those who actually walk this path, you will experience a life that most will want to live. You make your choice. Will you join the ranks of men who have made history, or will you fall into the delusion and shackles that this world is ultimately trying to put you in? Make your choice. Subscribe to the channel. Book some time with me if you're serious to take the next step. I'll see you on the next video.